We passed! The spool is saved! Play the New Year's music now!
Let all acquaintance be forgot. Blah, 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 blah.
Adult animation feels like a really underappreciated form of art. With every go-to show like South Park, we have 20 other shows try to pump out the generic edgy jokes and claim to be like South Park while getting the point what makes South Park and shows like it even good to begin with. Some amazing shows come with some talented creators to the point where they often stay in the business even after ending their show with another project behind them. We all know them, the Seth MacFarlanes, the Mike Juggs, and I guess you could say Vizzy Pop counts as well. All known for having multiple shows under the name, but what about the underrated show creators who kind of had it locked in the 2010 era of Adult Swim? And who am I talking about? Well, no other than Brad Neely, the man who started from having comics to a small YouTube channel to his own Adult Swim show. So sit back, grab your season 1 copy of Child of Illinois. It's time to talk about the Brad Neely trilogy. So before we talk about the trilogy of the shows, let's talk about the man himself. This is Brad Neely, an American comic book artist and television writer / producer known for his work on television shows such as South Park. He's from Fort Smith, Arkansas. He came from a religious background, which he described being a low-hanging fruit when it comes to comedy. During his school days, Neely briefly attended the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. But in his early work, Neely created an animation called Cox and Crumbs Washington, a rap-filled re-envisional take on George Washington. It was included in the Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted Festival of Animation 2007. A reviewer of the Chicago Reader called it a real find, and it garnished a very big popularity online. Later on, Neely became a writer for the animated series South Park in 2007 to 2009. He also produced America Now, a 12-part miniseries with 30-second musical shorts for Adult Swim, which was made available on the channel's website. But while working, he started to make his own short web series on YouTube, set in a fictional town of China, Illinois. He made multiple series such as I Am Baby Cakes, Professor Brothers. The I Am Baby Cakes shorts was typically in the style of a diary entry narrated in first person by Mark Baby Cakes. And fun fact, Baby Cakes is actually one character I talked about way back when I was really starting YouTube. Man, time has changed. But in these shorts, you really get to unwind the mental of Baby Cakes, something I wish they did more in the show, and some of these shorts are still funny to this day, even hitting some feels. And as for his other shorts, such as the Professor Brothers, it follows the professional and personal misadventures of Frank and Steve Smith, two brothers who are professors at a local community college, that being Child, Illinois. This will be the beta versions of the cast, and it's not hard to say where things need to be fixed later on. But what's cool is that later on, the shorts will actually do crossovers as Baby Cakes will fall in love with Frank's recently dead girlfriend after finding her diary. Kind of reminds me of the episode of Adventure Time. And at the end, the two men will attempt to come to terms with the emotional pain upon learning her death. These shorts were actually something to watch, so much that was able to get picked up on May 5th, 2008 by Adult Swim and Super Deluxe. They began to release a 4-part miniseries with Neely right before he got his own season. So let's start talking about Child of Illinois. So in the series, it takes place at the worst college in America, located in the edge of a fictional town in Child, Illinois. This is where we follow the school's faculty and staff is most celebrated by its poor reputation. They are constantly shown to be drinking while teaching or trying to avoid teaching altogether. So think of the laid-back wackiness of Sit Down and Shut Up mixed in with Chico State. And that's not the end of it. The random stuff that this show goes through makes regular show looks like irregular show. And with this show, we do have a large cast of characters, but we mostly follow the main four, that being Steve and Frank, the Professor Brothers. They are both pretty much the same as the miniseries, with both being history teachers due to Frank always following Steve around. You get the idea, and the show likes to show it, that Steve, being the older brother, is the cooler brother as well, always leading the charge, always getting perks, and always scoring with the ladies, which some can see as predatory. Even the show kind of jabs at it. And then there's Frank. He is the pushover of the group, but unlike most pushover, he tends to get more come-ups than you think. But personally, I think Frank is more funnier than his brother, probably because he can do more in the show than Steve. Like, I'm sorry if I think Frank being banished from the community and fending for himself because he busted R. Kelly on his brother on live TV, than Steve getting down and dirty with a stick of butter. Don't ask. But other than that, we have Pony, who is a teacher's aide and either is working with the teachers or in class herself. She plays as the love interest for most, and her one joke is that she's broke. But I often like Pony as a character. She tends to have a lot more crazier episodes herself, like the time she got into her whole relationship with a giant tick, or when she tries to get her friend Matt Attack to tell her his secret, a secret she already knew, or when she survived the apocalypse due to Baby Cakes' father, and she had to basically figure out how to survive on her own. Throughout the series, she tends to be the carry-on type of friend who always want to tag along, and while she's often overlooked by her colleagues, Pony is never a pushover. She will deliver some brutal honesty to other characters like it's a side hustle. Now let's talk about the big guy himself, Baby Cakes, who, like I said earlier, I made a video way back then. In the show, Baby Cakes is the childhood friend of Stephen Frank and is a student at Charlotte, Illinois, thanks to his dad being a professor. So he kind of just coasts through life, and that's his lifestyle. And what's funny is how in the show, Baby Cakes is pretty much one of the most important beings in the show's universe, even being able to rub shoulders with the dean and the mayor, and is often the one that everyone sees as an idiot, but he does have his moments. But who can be mad at a psychology poet who just wants to have a good time all the time? We do have a larger side cast of characters who have a lot of funny moments. The first season we had the teachers. Later on we will get more side characters when the new semester and new season will start. We will get a lot of recurring characters who will play more major roles, and don't get me started on the voice actors they got for these characters. China, Illinois would have a great list of voice actors from Hannibal to Danny Trejo and Donald Glover, and even the Union Buster Hulk Hogan played the dean. And as much as I'm not a fan of the Hulkster, his role as the dean, but after 3 seasons of Adult Swim, and Brad Neely would end the show to pursue other projects. He later did announce that the show was done forever and that he was moving on to a new show. And what was his new show he was talking about? Well, we'll talk more about that after this.
I see you and you see I, man, I see you and you see I. China, Illinois, China, Illinois, China, Illinois, China, Illinois, China, Illinois, Illinois, man, China, Illinois, China, Illinois, yeah. I see you and you see I, man, I see you and you see I.
Okay, so in the late 2010s, after the unfair cancellation of Charlotte, Illinois, Brad Neely will get a second chance working with Adult Swim. And this is where Brad will flex his mind and making a show that some might say this was the most random show Adult Swim ever made. And what was that show? Well, the show is titled The Brad Neely's Hard Nailing Scorpio PPO. Try saying that 5 times fast. The series was formatted as a sketch comedy show with short films and routine, with songs composed by Neely himself. The series aired on Adult Swim on July 10th to September 18, 2016. The show will only run for 1 season, and for only having 10 episodes, they had a good list of guest stars, like they had Andre 3000. But during the production of the first season, it was also being produced while the last season of Charlotte, Illinois was going around. The crew was given the impression that Scorpio PPO will be in the same universe as Charlotte, Illinois, and I can honestly see that being the case, because not only both shows share the same art style, they often share the same writing when it comes to these skits. While watching it, it would have been cool to see some small cameos from the China gang. But let's answer a question: why did they give this show a long name? The show's unusual title, according to Neely, is intentionally meaningless, being made up by the staff's favorite collection of syllables, and it was originally going to be titled TV Sucks, but it was renamed during the production. Hell, I'm not surprised they didn't just call it Brad Neely's 15-minute sketch show if that was the case. And fun fact, the show's first episode was released on Vine. You remember that app, right?
Hey dog, you get some ice cream? Only a spoonful.
On June 27, 2016, ahead of its July 10th air date, making the show the first television program to have an episode released on a video hosting sharing app. Sort of like that time when Rick and Morty dropped a whole episode on Instagram, leading it to cut up to 100 posts due to Instagram only having 15 seconds per video at the time. Other than that, there's not much to say about this show. Since it's a 1-season sketch show, there's no main characters unless you count the bearded guy. It would have been cool if they had some sort of mainstays. Like for comparison, look at Robot Chicken. It follows the same skit format, but there's a cast of mainstays of the show. You have the nerd, bitch pudding, that one bear who can't seem to look where it's going.
That wasn't bad at all.
even the robot chicken himself. And I know a lot of people would immediately compare the two, but I think it's a little unfair. Even though the two were skit shows, the Brad Neely, Harg Neely were more in the style of his older stuff, more random than anything. As for Robot Chicken, Neely references or pop culture to make the joke. And I think Harg Neely was trying to break away from the former since both shows were airing around the same time, but there were some jokes that didn't land and some that did. And let me tell you, the ones that land, oh, they land all right. Like some of my favorite skits being the one by Bruce Willis or the skit where Brad Neely is describing Donald Trump.
He's got no eyes and he's got those them hand teeth.
With having baby hands for teeth, or the Kanye West skit being a koala bear. It's really just stupid stuff. You gotta go watch it yourself. I promise it's worth it. But like all things, it came to a mild end. And it's a shame. I feel like this show was trying to find its footing, and I feel like it could have been a good replacement for Robot Chicken, or even letting it run for an extra season or two. We could have even seen some actual mainstays. Who knows? But after the cancellation, Brad Neely was never seen again. Until 2020, that's where the myth himself would rise again and give TV another shot. And instead of Adult Swim picking up, Paramount Plus will be the home for Brad Neely's new show. And will this be the hit show he needed? Well, let's find that out after this.
Let's hear it for Stephen.
So in 2020, Brad will start production on a new series that will be picked up by CBS and will stream on the Paramount Plus app. This will be a 10-episode show called The Harper House. The series is executively produced by Brad Neely and Katie Kurtz. CBS announced that Ryan Flynn, Rhea Shaw, and Jason Lee and Tatiana Maslany would star in The Harper House, and the show will follow the Harpers, a upper-class family moving into the South Side after Debbie lost her job and forced to move in her husband's family home. And at first, Debbie and her stay-at-home husband Freddie would try to hide this from the two kids, Ollie and Todd. They instantly find out, and throughout the series, they desperately try to climb the capitalistic ladder from middle class to upper class. And how is that done? With wacky shenanigans, of course. What I like about the show is it kind of takes a step back from Brad's previous shows and kind of grounds them in a way. And like, yes, some weird stuff happens, not the way the other shows would have handled them. With the whole show basically having Debbie trying to come up with get rich quick scheme, thinking that this is the only way to make her family happy. Because Debbie has this whole thing that if she fails, everyone is upset, so she has to make everything perfect, and that definitely has to do with her dad and her younger sister, and the less said about them, the better. And they tend to play Debbie as the black sheep of the family, something we all can relate to, also trying to do good just for the bad of it being pointed out, even though she's not a slacker, her having a master's in engineering, but gets in her own way when it comes to ideas, because how hard she goes not thinking about the small stuff. She's really more of a big picture type person, but that's the opposite when it comes to her husband. This is Freddie. Freddie is what I like to think Frank from China, Illinois wishes he could be. Just a stay-at-home dad who loves his family and kind of gets carried by his wife, but tries his best, even if that makes him seem weak-minded to others. But he has some funny moments. He's voiced by Jason Lee, but he has some funny moments in the show, like when he wanted to get Debbie a pair of jeans, but due to it selling now, he does all these elaborate things to try to get the lady who brought the last pair to just throw them away, so he can pick them up off the garbage. And while being a stay-at-home dad, you can already tell he has a helicopter parent mindset, always trying to get the answer from a book, and he's somewhat of a racist. That's kind of a joke they try to do in the show. And what I mean, he tries to be friends with his neighbors, them being multicultural, but the things he does often seems to be racist. That whole thing ends up being a whole big plot in the last episode, and it's shown that Freddie cares more of the idea of not being racist than just not being it, especially from what his family past was like. And it doesn't help that he doesn't like Debbie's friend Tanya. Tanya is a queen, and that's all I'm gonna say for her. We also have Ollie and Todd, the twins, and it's the yin and yang archetype, with Todd being the high preppy loner who often believes his own hype, which makes him look like a cornball, oftentimes believing that he's better than the majority of everyone in the new school. And I don't know why they gave him this design looking mad pale and having him have this black sheep look, but I don't buy it. It's probably because how the family already is. He kind of fits in, and if anything, Ollie is more of the black sheep, being the super laid back, going to be a stoner in the future stereotype. She's the type to be asked to watch something only to ask what does it do during that conversation. She does have a positive attitude towards the new move and is even friends with the neighbor girl, who's probably the smartest kid in the show. And that's the family. We do get an interesting cast of side characters, with some being voiced by some child Illinois cast, so that's a fun touch. But out of all the side characters, I do like the principal, who's an irresponsible educator party animal. Think of Lewis from American Dad with the vibe of Bullock. And there is the mayor of the town, who has the whole thing of being super corrupt, and in a few episodes we use the shenanigans of the Harpers to boost the political power, like helping Ollie get everyone in the whole town to eat Obama before the day ends, or the world will blow up, only to use that to get votes for a fracking project. It makes sense, just watch the episode. Honestly, what I like about the Harper House is the whole how it treats the family aspect of the show. Compared to Brad's other shows like Child Illinois, they have family, but they never really felt like it. And this is honestly coming from someone who has your typical FX family. But what I mean that the Harpers don't hate each other or use one another. They're generally there for each other and will move mountains for each other. And it was kind of nice to see. I think the slight difference with art was a plus as well. From the light lines, pastel look, more of the bolder lines and more bolder colors in the character designs. It's not that different from Brad's past shows. You can tell them apart too much, but like all Brad's go-to shows, the Harper House was canceled just after 1 week of finishing season 1. And why was that? Well, I can't say for sure, but I could guess it has to do with lack of promotion. And it was being released during the pandemic, which I talked about in my Little Demon video, playing a major part of. And man, the pandemic really killed a bunch of shows. Even to this day, Mr. Neely himself has been dormant, but I'm sure whatever he's working on is going to be amazing. Or maybe Adult Swim can greenlit another season of Child Illinois. But what makes Brad Neely different from the others? I think when it comes down to it, how different he goes from each show or project. From his YouTube stuff being small animated short, that evolved to a 3-season show, with setting on being the Wolf School and having his writing go a little wacky till it hit the Harper House, where it takes a slow cruise and now it's somewhat of a cult classic. And me personally, I would put Brad up there with some of the greats like Seth MacFarlane or Matt Groening. And you're probably asking, where can I watch some of these great shows? Well, most of them will air on Apple TV or YouTube TV, so you should go check them out yourself. I promise you won't be disappointed. But that's gonna be it for the video, y'all. I appreciate you guys waiting, and honestly, I wanted to talk about these shows one by one, but I had the idea to combine them all together. It kind of came in mind when I was writing for the Child Illinois video, and honestly, it gets me used to making longer videos, so I hope you all enjoyed it. But did you ever watch any of these shows? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Man, I've been talking about cartoons for a minute. I think the next video is gonna be about a video game or something. But till the next one.
I was watching. You told me you ain't never took.
No, why did he print them out? Who does that?
Wrong face.
He just kept describing what he thought my bush looked like.
I f***ed you with that stick of butter!
Let me start the show.
I'm Batman.
Or give me my pants!
You like me better when I talk like this and act like this?
Like women, not girls.
Oh, man. Geronimo!
Peace.
China, Illinois. Come on, y'all. Let me feel it. China, Illinois. Oh my God, I'm so serious. Oh, China, Illinois. It's a